Solar Wave is an electricity generating art installation that provides access to the visitors of Fly Ranch to recharge and reconnect to the world during the Burning Man annual event. Before we get into the details of the project, it is important to understand the premise of the proposal. What is Burning Man? How is Fly Ranch the site of our project associated with it? And how will the visitors recharge and reconnect to the world through our installation on site? Burning Man is an annual event since 1986 held in the western part of United States at the Black Rock City, a temporary city erected in the Black Rock Desert of northwest Nevada. Fly Ranch is roughly 3,800-acre parcel of land located approximately 8 kilometers northwest of the Black Rock City. The property has 640 acres of wetlands, dozens of natural spring water pools ranging in temperature from hot to cold, grasslands and small area of playa that opens onto the Holopai Flat. The land's most prominent feature is the stunning Fly Geyser, a unique and iconic geothermal geyser that constantly releases water reaching 5 feet in the air and depositing minerals around it. The Fly Ranch property is truly an oasis in the desert, and that is essentially the site. But how does it position itself around the Burning Man event? At Burning Man, the community explores various forms of artistic self expression which are created to be enjoyed by all participants. Examples of creativity include experimental and interactive sculptures, buildings, performances, and art cars, among other media. These contributions are inspired by a theme that is chosen annually by the organizers. As Burning Man embarks on a 2030 plan to make the annual event at the Black Rock City sustainable, the Fly Ranch acquisition is a crucial step by the organizers to reinforce this effort, given the delicate yet beautiful ecosystem that it contains. The competition is set to bring ideas to tackle the hard problem of net zero sustainable infrastructure with circular design thinking. These solutions can be based around systems on energy, water, food, shelter, and zero waste. The three distinct area types that define the site boundaries are the prime site boundary, where most of the design focus should be directed, low impact site boundary, where light footprint of proposals are allowed without deep foundations or excavations, conservation area, where no construction is allowed, and dedicated to support the habitat of local flora and fauna. The installation site is a combination of two boundaries, that is primary and low impact. The reason for the central location of the site was the possibility of making the sculpture a beacon for the visitors traveling across the massive property, like a lighthouse for navigation. The Wayfinder idea is aided by a peculiar condition on site, which is a narrow stream of water that dissects the selected site almost in the middle and extends from north to south, thereby imparting some orientation. Though narrow, it certainly helps direct the design to have a bridging character. This move also helps in emphasizing the importance of water as a transformative natural feature of the landscape. These subtle streams of lifelines are crucial to the delicate biodiversity of the Fly Ranch area and essential to conserve. As we sketch the form, we realize the potential of this sculpture to provide a sense of awareness to the fragile environment, especially if viewed from a certain height. The design of the bridge-like platform takes inspiration from the movement of water. The ponds of water in and around the Fly Ranch area are strong visual clues as to how water can influence the ecosystem. We investigated this nature of movement of water, which is characterized by a sine wave oscillation. In water's natural movement, the sine waves enlarge as they approach the shores or the banks of a water body. Similarly, the platform becomes dramatic as one steps over it from either side, as if these were the very edge of water and land. The experience of the surface becomes smoother and continuous as one approaches the center, just as the experience in deep waters. As a part of a contributing infrastructure in the bare site, we wanted to establish a form that could not only draw attention for its aesthetic reasons, but also provide for the comfort of its users. The sine wave itself generates voids that could work extremely well for shelter, thereby providing much needed shade for activities and leisure. Given the arid conditions of the site, it can prove to be a savior in disguise. The east west orientation of the platform also aids the shading potential of the bridge like sculpture. There is an attempt to make the access under and over the sculpture playful, The north approach gives a relatively narrow entry on the surface, while the south axis helps the visitors to go across the stream without disturbing it. The west side allows for a grand entrance onto the surface. One reason to keep a biased axis between the east and the west side of the sculpture is to keep the activities under the eastern part less disturbed by the movement of people on the sculpture. Materiality is important to define the character of the curves. All the tectonics of the design were envisioned to be slender and sleek. The properties of the material should also aid in the easy assemblage of the sculpture on site. Starting with the base, the pads essentially lie in the low impact site boundaries. We have designed it to be flat and wide. These contact points on the surface avoid the need for deep foundations given the scale of the project. The I-beam girders enable the curves to be drawn in the desired way. These also help in providing recesses which are used for electrical conduiting and lighting. Thick wooden planks are used to bridge the I-beam girders. The textural quality, workability, and thermal qualities of wood work well with the air conditions of the fly ranch. These are spaced to accommodate thinner planks profiles which jut out from the surface to assist the moving up and down from the slopes. Besides safety, we intended the railings to be delicate in their aesthetics. Hence, we opted for tempered glass railing, which also incorporates photovoltaic membrane to support energy generation on site. The translucent nature of the railings, therefore, does not interfere with a minimal approach to the design. Early in the project, we wanted to take inspiration from the ways lifeforms adapt in the fly ranch region and thrive in the scarcity and abundance of resources available to them. The buckwheat plant was an intriguing find in terms of harnessing energy and contributing to its environment as a host plant. The long, peculiar sprouting flower on top became the inspiration for the solar pods, which extend high up to tap the abundant sunlight to generate electricity, while the base becomes a shelter for the users of the installation. The tech-savvy attendees of such events generally carry equipment such as cameras, drones, mobile phones, laptops, tablets, and all other related equipment that enable them to capture the beautiful surroundings and the eventful life that thrives in Burning Man. To support these needs, the sculpture relies on energy generated by solar means. The pots mimic the spherical shape of the buckwheat flower. The simple reason for the design decision is based on capturing maximum sunlight in all directions possible. The circular discs can harness sun energy even from low incidence sun rays, given the spacing which allows for light to pass through the consecutive discs. These circular discs alternate between tempered glass and PV integrated glass. The PV integrated glass has a thin layer of amorphous photovoltaic membrane that generates electricity from the incident solar rays. These membranes vary in transparency and become opaque as we reach the bottommost section of the pod. The west side of the sculpture encloses a storage facility under its waveform, which is also supplied with electricity through the various pods spread across the site. As the visitors approach the site from a distance, we want them to get a sense of life and growth in the bare environment. The pods are arranged in groups of 3 around the wave. They further detach into single pods and eventually a single disc as one walks over the surface of the sculpture. The idea is to show progression and how water can impart growth in nature, from a seed to a forest. The support of the pod cluster is made stable by connecting them together and also creating a bench-like feature which can provide for leisure and small gatherings. These benches are envisioned to be fitted with wireless charging capabilities that extend their functionality. Extending the same idea of charging and leisure, the surface of the sculpture is integrated with planks that can support the load of the visitor movement and wireless charging capacity. The shorter edges of the plank are also fitted with socket points for plug-in devices. Short-range Wi-Fi is implemented throughout the sculpture dimensions, which enable the visitors to connect to the world. The ample gentle slopes provide people with convenient access to either ends of the sculpture with possibility to lie down and gaze at the skies at times of low sun such as dusk or dawn. The section highlights the area for energy storage and the central strip, which reinforces the gentleness of the curves previously mentioned. The elevations indicate the intensity of activities that are associated on either side of the stream of water. The graphic on the right shows gatherings that are possible under the flowing lines of the sculpture. The group seating around the sculpture allows for unique perspectives that visitors get to experience. The scattered arrangement of the clusters around the site provide areas for small gathering, while the grand shaded space under the sculpture can become a convening point for large crowds. The stream which divides the landscape provides that notion of flowing water that is poetically represented in the sculpture. The installation creates interesting frames of the sculpture as one looks out into the fly ranch site. Here, people can also interact with the flowing stream under the comforting shade of the curvaceous form. The major entrance shows the seamless connection between the sculpture and the land, as if it emerged out from the ground below. The luminescent pods light up in the night, creating an inviting ambience for the installation. In the end, the beacon, which can be seen from a distance, reminds and reassures the visitors that there is a place that allows them to stay connected. Thank you.